Hey guys, Kyle here with another video for the YouTube channel. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the number one way I believe to truly improve your focus. And this is not no cookie cutter bullshit. This is actually, I believe, the number one way. And I believe really the only way to improve your focus. So if you guys want to see the process, keep watching. It's called Hedonic Adaptation. All right, guys. So I'm kind of going to break down how the brain works here. So the brain wants dopamine through the shortest path possible, even if it makes no sense. For example, you know that sugar is not good for the body, but why do you still consume it? You know porn is not good for the body, but why do you still consume it? You know Zins, some people can say nicotine is healthy, but you know Zins and beer and smoking weed in the morning aren't really healthy for you. So why do you do it, right? We know it's not good for us, but why do we do it? Why? We know it's not good, so why do we do it? It's because the brain has this thing that needs to be fulfilled. It needs dopamine, and it's going to do it in the shortest path possible. Okay, even if these things don't benefit you. So what we need to do is we need to remove these things systematically. So the only place you could get dopamine is the thing which you are trying to achieve your goal in. For example, you want to start your own business, right? We need to slowly remove these things in a way where you need to get your dopamine somehow, some way, but you can't get it through this and you need to get it. And your brain will essentially begin to crave work instead because that's the only place it can get its dopamine. So I'm gonna give you a quick story. So this is a story of a paralyzed man. And a paralyzed man, he wasn't always paralyzed. So one day, I think he got hit by a car or something like that. There was a study on this, they did. And he basically became paralyzed, right? And he was very sad, very distraught. And what happened was about a year later, his happiness came back to baseline. He became as happy as he was, as he is now, as a paralyzed man. And how can that be? It's something called hedonic adaptation. And essentially, it's where your dopamine levels always come back to baseline. Okay? So, in the beginning, when you quit this sugar, right, you're gonna feel sad. You're not gonna feel happy. And if you stop long enough, eventually you will come back to baseline, and you won't really crave the sugar, but you'll be just as happy as you were before with the sugar. And over time, if you keep doing this to each thing, you won't have any of these cravings anymore. And you'll come back up to baseline, and all your dopamine will come through your work or whatever domain that you're trying to achieve excellence in, right? So when we look at the cavemen, they were extremely productive. They didn't have Instagram. They didn't have porn. They didn't have any sugar. They didn't have these things that cause short-term dopamine. They had really three things that could give them dopamine: hunting, sex, and status activities, like something that they could do in the tribe that gave them more status. But usually things that, are like that usually are productive for the tribe, right? So they were pretty productive. They were usually doing those three things, and if they weren't doing those three things, they weren't getting dopamine. They weren't getting happiness. So they were constantly doing those three things, right? So kind of like I said, what are the things like that we need to get rid of here? So let me add actually one more here. This is one that I used to love. Politics. So I'm gonna go through this list. There's YouTube, there's music, there's short form content, there's movies, there's TV shows, there's junk food, there's porn, there's beer, there's smoking weed, there's notifications, and there is politics. And you could add texting in there too. And I think there's probably a few more, I imagine. But these things all give us dopamine. Now, I'm not saying we have to quit all of these things, right? But just imagine for a second, you didn't have all those things, and you had to get happiness from someplace. And in order to come back up to baseline, you have to get the happiness from somewhere. Where would you get it from? You would have to get it from your work. And this is what happens is your brain is always going to want that dopamine. It's just, what are you fulfilling that dopamine with? And according to hedonic adaptation is we can come back up to baseline without all this. And that might sound crazy. No way I can become just as happy as I am without TV shows and music and all this stuff that I do all day. Yes you can. Yes you can. Because there's people out there in Africa, in the villages, right? That don't have all this stuff. I'm not saying everyone in Africa is like that, but there's people out there who they're out in the wilderness and they don't have any of this stuff. And I guarantee there's a lot of them who might be just as happy as you, if not happier, right? So how is that? It's because we have adapted to get our dopamine from these easy places, right? So you can get rid of all this. If you want to go all in, you can. But you need to do one thing at a time. So what I recommend doing is get rid of one thing for 2 to 3 weeks. And how it's going to feel is you're going to remove it, then you're going to feel sad. But you're slowly going to adjust and come back up to the baseline. And your overall focus is going to improve. Now, I used to chew nicotine gum. And, Alex Hormozy talks about nicotine gum and how great it is, for his focus and stuff. And I tried it out and I liked it. But I realized I was only getting my happiness from the gum. If I didn't have the gum, like everything I did, I needed the gum. If I went to the pool, I needed the gum. If I went to the gym, I needed the gum. If I went on a walk, I needed the gum. If I watched a movie, I needed the gum. And if I didn't, I felt happy. I didn't feel happy and I felt cranky. And it's also a short-term dopamine thing. So actually, when I ended up quitting, my focus became insane. My motivation became insane because I would go to the gym and I didn't really feel like working out. I would still work out, but I didn't really feel like being there, right? And once I got rid of that dopamine source, I started craving the work. I started craving the gym. I had all this motivation to do these things because I didn't have that short-term dopamine. And I still watch YouTube. I try to keep it to more like business content. I'm not out there watching, brain rot. And my wife wants to watch Dancing with the Stars sometimes, so I get dragged into that. But I used to watch a lot of politics, like Patrick by David, it's just entertaining. Politics is entertaining. I don't care if you're in right or left. It's entertaining. It's like the drama of the world. And another thing I'll add in here is drama. This is something that Charles Morgan talked about. Is drama between you and your friends or, anything in life. Really, politics is just global drama, geopolitical drama. And I mean, it is serious, but unless you're going to change politics now or the next year or two, it's kind of pointless to watch. You're informing yourself on something that isn't going to improve your life. Now, if you don't really care about business and that's not really your thing, and you just want to live a normal life and watch politics, that's completely fine. Like, I'm not saying you guys have to get rid of any of this, but I'm saying if you're trying to have an exceptional life, you need to have focus. You need to have a lot of time put into your work, into your craft. And it's very hard to do that when, you're getting dopamine from these easy places because your brain is always going to get dopamine from the shortest path. And once it gets it, it's not going to have the motivation to get it somewhere else. So if you just jerked off the porn, right, you don't really have the motivation to keep working now. Until that dopamine wears off and you have to get the dopamine again, right? Like your motivation goes down. It just does because you fulfilled your dopamine. But if you have that crave and you really want to do it, but you don't, and you channel that towards your work, you will become more productive. Okay. And some common pitfalls is people doing this in the beginning of the morning. So if you wake up in the morning and you start watching YouTube, you're spiking your dopamine levels. So it's going to be harder to focus after because there's nothing really beats a good YouTube video. That dopamine from a good YouTube video and then you go sit down and you have to go work for 3 hours straight without going on your phone. Very few people can do that. I mean, there's people out there, maybe some of you guys can do it, but a lot of people can't, right? So the best thing to do is in the morning, and as long as you can, you need to put off these dopamine vices. Okay, so if you could try to keep this for the end of the day, from like maybe 6 o'clock till the time you go to bed, then you're gonna be able to focus like crazy. And you're also gonna adapt. You're not really gonna need it as much. And it's gonna be the cycle that ends up, really helping improve your focus. So just to wrap this up is, it's a cycle. I don't recommend quitting it all at once. You will become very sad and depressed. And you might be happy for the first day, but after 2 or 3 days, you're gonna feel kind of sad and depressed. Maybe you can tough it through, but I recommend doing 1, maybe 2 things at once and slowly quitting it until you get rid of all these things. But yeah, a good one to start off with is notifications. So I to shut off every single notification besides maybe like email, right? If you need that for business, just get rid of everything. If people need to get a hold of you, tell them to call you, right? But yeah, guys, I hope this helps. Let me know if this is something that, how it works for you guys and how it changes your life. And if you see anything on this list that I didn't mention that improves focus, let me know, and I'd be more than happy to try to implement it into my life too, because I'm on this journey too. I've removed a lot of those things. Really the last ones are YouTube, for business content, but I still think that's productive, and TV shows with my wife. But yeah, guys, that's it for now. Have a nice day. Bye.